There it is. All right. So many road-based puns are all competing. It's hard to know which one to go with. It's the road rules for the first time ever on the Rookie channel. We're excited. We lost the desktop audio though. Why? There we go. Paul and Andy are wondering, where is this guy? Introducing this match. It's going to be Eric and Nicholas. I won't take much time. They're waiting to be brought in. And let's do just that. Uh-oh. May have a list change also. So that'll be fun. He did. We got a total list change. Okay. That is exciting. It's gonna make the road part of this match less interesting. But that's alright. So if you were wondering, that doesn't look like First Order. It's not. Now we got it. So, we are on the way. We're getting off to a flying start tonight for organization. Sound problems. Got the wrong list. Hopefully that doesn't set the tone for the rest of what's going to happen. Anyway, let's welcome in
Score
the rest of the booth for tonight.
Like
and they're already having a little chat in the room waiting for me to show up. It's Andy Myers and Paul Olson. Welcome in. I'm noticing there was a list change. So we don't have quite the overlap we thought we were going to have, but we still have a 5 on each side and a 4 on each side. So road rules still going to matter somewhat. Thanks for joining in tonight. And I haven't even had the chance to process what Nicholas's new list is because he changed it. But that's okay. We're going to roll with it. But I guess, you know, the obvious first thing that is on everybody's mind right now is just the road rules themselves. And this idea, if you don't know, I guess road, random order after dials, right? As the thing that AMG is set to be demoing up tomorrow, meaning that you don't determine who's got first player until after the dials are set, and you do it every round. And I'm going to be trying that out tonight because AMG has at least said it's something that they are testing tomorrow, and you know there's a broader insinuation that perhaps that is the leading candidate for how they're going to update bids in the game. There have been a lot of things said about it. And now here's your chance. Here's your chance to say more things. So, Paul, while I go color these ships in, and watch the timer here, why don't you kick us off on the road rules?
Yes, the road rage that it causes. No, so road rules. In essence, what happens is the old system was each player would come with a list, and whatever points you didn't spend in your list would give you the opportunity at the start of the game, if you didn't spend as many points as your opponent, to decide if you were going to be the first or second player for the entirety of the game. Road rules. Road stands for random order after dials, ROAD. And what that means, in essence, is each player will roll 3 dice at the start of each round and before the game, and determine who is the quote-unquote winner. The winner being the person who rolled first the most crits. If there were no crits rolled or there's a tie, then it's the most focuses rolled on those 3 dice. If there's still a tie or no focuses or crits rolled, it's the most hits rolled. And if there's still a tie, then you re-roll them after 3 dice are rolled. The winner, person who had the most results there, will then be the player who's going to be first player that round. If it's the beginning of the game, that means that they will be placing the first obstacle. They will also be placing their forces first, and they will also be first player for that round. After the first round and proceeding, then they will go ahead and roll at the end of each round. But only after setting all of their dials for that particular turn. So you'll look at each of your ships, you'll set their dial, and then you will roll. So that's in essence what it is. This is obviously a major change from how the rules were previously. Specifically, dials were set. You knew the play order ahead of time for the entirety of the game. And whether you liked it or not, there was definitely an advantage by being the second player in an overlapping initiative case, at least for the higher initiatives. For example, a textbook example is an initiative 6. If you had one Soontir Fel faced off against another Soontir Fel, the ability to know where your opponent's going to be so that you could double reposition to potentially get out of arc, land up that bullseye, for example. Huge advantage as a second player. Fire sprays are another great example if you knew where to boost, for example. So that being said, now with this change, all of a sudden there's a lot of uncertainty as far as where you need to go. Planning will be different. I would argue, at least initially, more difficult as players figure out what this means. There are definitely ships that have their value go up, those being ships with passive mods like Force, that let's say that you accidentally got blocked because you didn't know exactly where your opponent was going to be. You still have modification. And the argument could be made that beefier ships that have more staying power are more forgiving because, unlike Soontir Fel, if you accidentally got in the wrong position, you could get one shot as opposed to another ship that can at least tank some hits. So those are kind of the initial, I guess, changes per se. I have not shared any opinions about said change, but that's at least informational. Andy, is there anything I'm leaving out of there? I've been monologuing for a while.
No, I think that's a pretty good bit of information, but you could elaborate when you mentioned the second player being more advantageous for higher initiatives. Do you want to expound upon the benefits of being first player for lower initiatives?
Yeah, no, very good point. So for lower initiatives, if you roll the dice and get the higher results and you say you win, you actually might win because as a lower initiative, you're probably wanting to move in and set up a block, which is going to deny your opponent actions. So let's say you had 2 initiative 1s, or let's say a swarm of initiative 1s versus another swarm of initiative 1s. It would be advantageous for you to actually fly in, block those positions so that they're denied actions, so that you're going to be more action efficient and also able to shoot first, being able to get through crits, for example, that might have weapons failure or direct hits or blinded pilots, that kind of thing that can really deter shooting. So going first is not always bad because of that lower initiative. Or in this case, let's say you had an I2 tugboat against another I2. It's probably going to be advantageous for that player that had the tugboat to move first with that I2 to be able to get off that tractor beam action as opposed to being blocked and not being able to use that action. So also ships that have a coordinate ability of some kind, their value is probably going to go up as well because you can adjust. Let's say that a ship gets bumped, another ship that doesn't get bumped that has coordinate can coordinate an action to that ship that was bumped so that they still get an action if they're in trouble. So yeah, or let's say you see your opponent do something unexpected, your ship hasn't moved yet, coordinate a barrel roll or some type of action so that even if you are about to be blocked, it's not as bad. Yeah, there you go.
So this game specifically, we got a Y-Wing, the Scum Y-Wing, Lima Kai specifically, who, Lima says, if you're not in enemy ship's front arc, you can acquire a lock on any enemy ship that is essentially in front of you, right? Doesn't even have to be in arc. Yep. So likes
and it's acquire, not lock action, which is a big deal because you can take that red barrel roll action and still get your lock, so you can arc dodge.
Yeah, and so doesn't want to be in the enemy's front arcs, although also, just kind of a 8 health Y-Wing piece. And then we got Tirani at I4. That's overlapping with Luke, who, this is pretty alpha Luke with proton torps. Ahsoka, who's got proton rockets, going to want to set up Bullseye. And then Tarani is going to overlap at I4 with Tennum, who's got...
I think you misspoke there. Lima's overlapping with Ahsoka and Luke. 10 is overlapping with Tarani. Yes.
Yep. So what do you think for these interactions specifically, based on the way we'd expect these loadouts to want to move? Are we going to see anything of this, do you think, if we ask these players afterwards? Or is this matchup maybe, not going to... Are we going to learn something or not learn something? That's what I'm asking. What do you
Andy,
think?
what are your thoughts first?
Well, sure. Well, as a scum player at heart, I love Tarani Kolda, and tossing that snapshot in there. It's just such a mean trick. There's a lot of really fun, bizarre things you can do with Tarani. Different ways to load her out. But basically, it's the first player order is going to matter with snapshot compared to 10 num, right? So if depending on what they dial and who goes first, then 10 num might be landing in Tarani's range 2, or might be bumping into Tarani, kind of depending on the order there. That way, 10 does not want to be in snapshot because he only has the one green die, whereas Luke and Ahsoka both have more than one green die, and they have the Force, right? So snapshot is much less scary. With 10 landing in snapshot, if it's in Tarani's bullseye, also, not only would he get snapshotted, which is 2 dice, you just roll 2 dice, see what happens, and then you can potentially evade that with 10's 1 green die. But then if 10 had landed in Tarani's bullseye, that Tarani called the trigger of after you perform an attack, each enemy ship in your bullseye suffers a damage unless it removes a green token. You haven't had the opportunity to take a green token yet because you're still in the after you execute a maneuver step. You haven't gotten to that perform action part of that whole phase. And also, the 10 num likes being stressed, so unlikely he's going to have many green tokens to begin with. So otherwise, over some other things I'm thinking about looking at the matchup in general is that I really like where Unkar is placed, just kind of right in the middle, looking at 3 rocks right in front of him. I'm not as big a fan of where Luke is, because of that. Like, it looks like they're going to be kind of meeting in those rocks, and Unkar Plus is just licking his chops about that. Going to take that cloak token, which will, with the scum cloaking device, the illicit cloaking device. For those of you who haven't seen it for a while, you during the planning phase, at the start of the planning phase, so before dials are set, you roll an attack die, and on a eyeball result, you decloak or discard your cloak token. So you don't actually have to decloak; you can just remove it. Has that been errated, Paul? I feel like that should be something like if you can't decloak.
If you can't decloak,
then
you just stay put and lose the token, correct?
But this particular card says you decloak or discard your cloak token, which
correct.
To me sounds like you have the choice to just get rid of it, even if you have all the opportunities to successfully decloak.
But is you have to either successfully decloak or get rid of it. If you can decloak, you must. Otherwise, get rid of the token. But a little bit of a hiccup there is you could say, okay, I'm going to attempt to decloak right when you fully know that you can't.
Right.
If that makes sense. So you could choose a direction that you know you'll fail. So you kind of get around that a little bit.
Absolutely.
But if you had 3 available options, yes, one of those 3 is going to have to be taken. Some other things, Andy, that you didn't mention. So Tarani with R4B11, that's an upgrade card I don't know if I've ever seen in 2.0. but it allows you to spend a stress token on your opponent to have them, or a red or orange token rather, on your opponent. So a target lock, jam, tractor beam, for example, to make them reroll a number of defense dice of your choice. And with 10, who loves to be stressed, it'd be interesting, the timing window wise, who's going to be re-rolling what when. Anyway, and then a couple other things that I don't know if Nicholas has done on purpose because of the road. So informant, sense, informant, anything that allows you to look at your opponent's dials so that you're not having to guess what they're doing. Because you're having to set those before determining play order is extremely valuable so that you can know, okay, where's my opponent going to be if I need to repossession, for example. So I like that a lot, and especially on Unkar with that cloaking device to keep him alive, and along with that tractor beam saying, okay, where are you going, Ahsoka? Great. Now I'm going to tractor you so that I can put you exactly where I want you to be, and moving you or keeping you put, depending on what I want to do. As far as Eric's side, Ahsoka is an amazing piece because of her ability, able to spend 2 force and give an action to a friendly range 1 to 2 after she completes a maneuver. So that gives her some flexibility if Luke's in trouble or if 10's in trouble and they get blocked. If she's not blocked, she can use her ability to either give them an action or a reposition. Lastly, Andy, you talking about positioning, yeah, it kind of feels like this is a pseudo joust. There's some obstacles in the way, but they kind of lined up across from each other and are gonna guns a-blazing, and I am worried that Eric doesn't have the firepower to take something out before getting hit pretty hard by Nicholas's list. I would have expected Luke maybe to take the end around, especially with those proton torpedoes, to make sure both those get off before he potentially dies. Yeah, and Nicholas has got some serious firepower, and I have seen the TBR, Turf on Belly Run, flown a couple times on Hexiled stream just because it's a bounty right now. But that can be definitely interesting. I've seen it with overturned modulators or some other way to still get actions, either a coordinate or something, while being on that rock so that you're not losing out on the action while going onto a rock to make that happen. But defensively, you might want to be on a rock if Luke takes a target lock on you, for example, so that he's not able to re-roll any of those dice. That is part of the perks of being on a rock, is that no re-rolls are able to happen, and against 10 as well. So some interesting things that'll happen here. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see is that initiative 4 and 5 overlap when rolling dice to see, hey, where are people going? I will say what I've observed so far is people happen to be more conservative right now. And I think part of that could be that this is a new format and people are very worried about dialing in the wrong maneuver. So you're just being like, all right, well, we'll just take the less bad thing. So it could be just a practice thing. But I think too, the players that are more aggressive, at least right now, usually are rewarded because your opponent will be more defensive, if that makes sense. Yeah, my few interactions with I've been in a couple of shared chats with Paul Heaver, who he said when playing this format already, he's just like, yeah, I just dial on the most aggressive thing. My opponent always does the least aggressive thing, and it usually works for me. So obviously that's only going to last so long, but yeah, super interesting.
All right, now they had, and I had put in the chat
right
a way that they were going to simplify it down to 1 die, but apparently they've changed that too. They're going to go the full AMG. There is a crit there.
That might be my fault.
Well, they couldn't hear you.
I told them they needed to do it.
Oh, did you?
No, I know. I typed in the chat and told them, no. You need to do it this way. I didn't realize that they'd agreed to it. But also, I think it's helpful for the chat to see this in action. Yes, extensively, it doesn't matter. You just roll. But it's helpful for players who are tuning in to understand what's going on.
All right, so Eric's going first. So if Luke went slow, won't get that lock for a torp, and maybe Lima will. Let's see.
We also did they roll for the cloak?
Yes. So red's gonna. Oh, the cloak. I don't know.
Yep. That should be. That roll happened a little bit ago.
Okay. I just didn't see it in the log. Okay. Oh, there's a hit. Okay. So
Okay,
one
yeah,
thing,
sort of the planning phase.
if you like shenanigans, if you're a scum player out there and you're looking for fun shenanigans, Tirani's ability combined with Captain Justero after an enemy ship suffers damage, if it is not defending,
Yeah.
you may perform a bonus attack against that ship. So Tirani's ability of dealing damage in the bullseye combines very well with Captain Justero. That's a bonus attack Justero could perform against the defending ship. Not defending, the one that is suffering a damage because it doesn't have a green token to spend. Also, what's cheeky about Dead Man's Switch on Captain Justero, if you are at range 1 of Captain Justero and you kill Captain Justero, even at a higher initiative, Dead Man's Switch deals a damage to that range 1 ship, and then Captain Justero gets to perform an attack on that ship. So you don't want to end up range 1 in front of Captain Justero if you are planning on killing him in that turn, because then you're just lining yourself up for bonus shots, especially if you are going after Captain Justero. And then also, if you like this idea of a cloaked quad jumper, like this next turn is going to be pretty sneaky with Unkar Plet, you can take another scum ship and throw Cicatro Vizago out there for 1 point, and after you cloak in that first turn, you can use Cicatro to pass the cloaking device illicit upgrade to another ship at range 0 to 1, and then that way you never have to roll for the decloak. You can just stay cloaked until you decide otherwise. So
he doesn't have that combo here.
Doesn't
but
have
another
it here,
combo
but
you
I'm
didn't
just saying
mention,
yeah.
You didn't mention this
fun.
one, which is tractoring an opponent onto a rock. They roll a hit, take a damage. Justero gets another bonus.
Justero. Again, yep, exactly. So
lots of ways to trigger his ability, for sure.
Yep.
And anytime I see a combination of Tractor and Ion, oh, that's just super mean. Because you Tractor them to get them ionized, then you Tractor them again, and so that it's easier to ionize them, and you just walk something off the board. It's really mean.
Yeah, when you put R4 as
or
well,
onto rocks.
just do that continuous hard turn right around the little ionized ship. They can't get away.
No, you can't. Unless you're Darth Vader, right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here goes. Yep, 10 did the 1 for it. Okay. So next turn, potential for snapshot. Oh, I also like this barrel roll.
And he took a target lock as his action. I'm guessing so that he can double tap, utilizing the title that he has, Stabilize S Foils, which allows him, after performing an attack, he can spend the lock on the defender to perform a cannon attack that he is not attacked with that turn. So in essence, fires his primary, spends the lock, fires an ion cannon. It's a little cheeky way to double tap. And with Fire Control System, you're at least getting a reroll on that first attack without having to spend your lock. Obviously, you won't be able to use that in the second attack, but if you're stressed, you would have the ability to take a focus or change all your focus results to hits or evades. So utilizing that barrel roll into a target lock to gain a stress is not a bad option. I'm a little surprised 10 didn't do that this turn.
We're seeing the Ahsoka coordinate, so he might, but it looks like he's going over to Luke Skywalker's dial.
It'd be like
instead.
A focus to a barrel roll, potentially, but you're right. Ahsoka did change Luke's maneuver. Maybe to stay out of the snapshot range, although
maybe trying to stay away.
Base is very far.
Maybe trying to stay out of that
away
torp.
from the rocks, right?
Well, Lima too, right? Stay out of being able to be target locked by Lima.
Yep. Although Ahsoka, it's all front arcs, right? Yeah, if you're not in any enemy ships, so you have to dodge a few arcs with Lima. But yeah, I will say Eric is keeping all of his ships together, which for Rebel synergy you definitely want to do, but at the same time, oh boy, You're saying, all right, which ship do you want to kill here?
Yeah, that's the thing about these scum ships is that they're not very fast, whereas Luke and Ahsoka have the potential to dodge a lot
Those
of what
barrels. Yep.
what is on the other side there. So, yeah, I think another setup option would be to split up your forces a little bit, make the scum player choose which
Sure.
direction. Of course, trying to fly through the rocks at a quad jumper is frequently a bad idea. So, just being in this open space, not terrible. He's gonna clear 10 here with
Ahsoka
this 4
as well,
forward. Okay,
on
there's
force.
snapshot, and Luke is now
in the bullseye as well. Yikes!
I don't
That's
think
just gonna be
Tarani
auto
has
damage.
arc, but yeah.
Or Jastero, you mean?
Huh.
Or sorry, yes, Jastero. I don't think Jastero has arc for any
Yeah.
potential. But
Yeah, this is just gonna be regardless if this attack gets through on Luke,
nope, nothing.
which it won't, but Luke still takes the damage because of Tarani's ability.
Right. Which is huge against Luke Skywalker.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, and Luke, you really want to you took 12 points for 2 proton torpedoes. I have found that in games where I bring proton torpedoes, if I get them both off, no matter what ship I'm using, my win percentage goes up, if that makes sense. If I only get one off, it goes down, and if I get 0 off, I've probably lost. So keep an eye on that. How many proton torps does Luke get off? Instinctive aim should help, but
Yeah,
don't know if the
so
players are
who
probably
do you
talking
lock
through.
here? Paul, do you lock Tarani because you've got 3 shots on her and she's only got 1 green die? Or
I think so. I think you just take the lock on Tarani and try to nuke Tarani out of the sky.
yeah, she's only got 2 shields. And
That's why I was a little surprised 10 didn't take a lock on Tarani.
sure.
It might be that 10 is trying to have his cake and eat it too, by getting that ion cannon off on Unkar to try to stop him from tractoring you the next round, so you can only take a focus action. But while cloaked, that's going to be really difficult. Looks like they have voice drop.
Yeah, they're both in the
players
room
are figuring
now.
out.
Yep.
What I'm sure Nicholas is explaining to Eric about the 1 shield on Luke based on it's so fascinating, right? Like you can kind of tell based on where their hands are and moving, like the hands, quote unquote, like their actual mouse, like what they're talking about. It's kind of funny.
Also, a frequently forgotten ability, the Dead to Rights chassis ability. While you perform on Tarani, while you perform an attack, if the defender is in your bullseye, defense dice cannot be modified using your green tokens. So maybe Luke was thinking about taking a focus because he does have instinctive aim.
Sure. I think the lock is just arguably better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you're gonna get force back when you get shot at anyways. So
yeah. I think instinctive aim is more dangerous, and I like instinctive aim a lot in this format. That if you accidentally get blocked by an I-5, like it's not as big a deal.
Or if you have to go first and you're out of range of target lock, you just take the focus.
Correct.
And
say,
then they move into range 3. So.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I really like instinctive aim a lot. Lee Mackay, though, has a couple proton torpedoes of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke might be in trouble.
Yep.
Because this is going to be a lot of, 2 firing arcs, I guess, because Jastero's not going to be there, but Tarani's going to get at least 1 more auto damage on Luke with that bullseye ability again. And then you've got a proton torpedo coming in too. And 2 defense dice against 4. Oof. Luke, good luck.
I guess Lima could barrel roll to get out of anybody's arc.
Nah, she took a target lock already.
Yeah,
she did. Okay,
there's no. I don't know that would have been super necessary, but
yeah,
and then Ahsoka taking a defeat.
I agree. But
or patience, which I don't hate. Mostly she's, you know, not only having that force for defense, although it looks like Luke's going to be the target here, but to set up her turn or set up her ability the next couple rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see a 1 attack dice A-Wing. That's amazing.
So,
yeah, Cubs fans for life. Andy talking about in the chat that even if Luke survives this shot or a couple shots, that he could get tossed on this rock this next turn and potentially take a damage there too. So, yeah, Luke, clinch. You could do it.
I imagine
Looks like we're going into
this will
attacks.
be into Tirani with the target locks at, but waiting to see.
Yeah,
Yep.
just looking at options, but yeah, I think Tirani is the target. Yep. And if you look at this list, like, there are some heavy hitters. Tirani obviously hits hard. Lee Makai an I-5 with the Proton Torp. All right, so average results. Well, a little below average. Should have seen a focus in there.
oh, one way. What happened to it?
Is that I don't think he intended to delete that. I think he wanted to re-roll it, and it didn't work.
Yep.
Here we go.
All right.
Hey,
All right. 3 hits and a crit.
the
from
full
a-
string. You'll love to see it. Tirani be taking a crit here. Ooh, gets the BM evade.
Power regulator.
And it's
That's
gone.
not great, but yeah, that's actually really bad because you're gonna be taking an eye on this turn, and then you're probably doing a 1 forward, and then you're gonna do a 1 forward again the next turn because you can't do the 4K.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely in Eric's favor there.
Of course, with Road, Eric can't necessarily plan around where that ion is going to end up. So,
yeah, at the same time, like, I feel like control things like ion, like road rules encourage more control aspects that you can lock down where your opponent's going, such as ion effects.
absolutely. So you're finally telling me to take that ion torpedo instead of proton and all the heroics is what you said? Was you saying?
I think so. You take the ion torp on Poe, and then you get heroic on your friends. And
I had 4 opportunities last night, Paul. Rose could have heroic. ZZ could have heroic. Poe could have. Oh man!
That's
and of course, Jess is sitting there taking like 3 shots round 1.
Hey,
I think I
natties.
still have a. Hey, the natty one.
The natty one.
Natty one.
Oh, I wanted that to go through. Just so we could say it happened. Dang it.
Do you... Oh man, do you not take patience and instead take instinctive aim and then do proton rockets?
You talking on Ahsoka?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
then
a
you
lot
could-
of
you
force
could
you're
lo-
spending. I would rather
you
not
could lock,
take extreme maneuvers.
I'm just saying, couldn't you lock?
Yes. Yeah, I
and
mean,
then
and that's
use
the
it?
build that
Yeah.
you see a lot is instinctive
Okay.
aim for that exact reason.
All right. Little sad,
Proton torpedo
one
into
of
Luke.
everything here. And 3 crits seems
3
fine.
crits. Oh my.
That's at least 1 more shield.
Luke really wants to see double paint here.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh, the opposite. That is the opposite. Heroic. Oh my gosh. Well,
1 proton torpedo.
if Luke sees a direct hit here, he's just dead because Tirani's going to give him an auto damage. The fuel leak. So yeah, Luke dies. Luke dies. Because the fuel leak will trigger off of the second crit. Disable. I mean, it won't matter.
Yeah, he's only got one left now.
Yeah, and then Tarani
Yep.
will just give him auto damage. So
Tarani doesn't even need to shoot at Luke.
correct. Well, he does.
She can shoot it.
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
You're right. He can shoot
yeah,
at
she
someone
can
else
just
and
shoot
then
at-
just do the auto
shoot
damage.
at 10.
Gross.
Yep.
That's so good. Let's see if he does that. He should, but let's see if he does it.
Hard to
Maybe
remember in the
showing his-
moment when you're just like,
Yeah.
ooh, all I got to do is shoot Luke one more.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Andy showing his X-Men
Uh,
prowess over me. The nads. Not quite the nads. He didn't have the full string,
Right.
but close. Might as well have been. GG. Yeah, it's going to be tough losing Luke this early because 10's going to have to do a lot of work, and he is pretty fragile. And then Ahsoka, while she can run and evade, she can only do so much, especially when there's an ion cannon that could lock her down and a tractor beam that she has to worry about. And she also has informant on her, or listening device rather, because of the informant upgrade card. So yeah. Betting has been closed. Wise.
keep going into Tarani. Ignore that quad jumper.
And this is why
Can't do
man,
anything about
Luke is very close to the action here. I think if Eric had this one back, he would have either tried to flank with Luke, like around the side, so that he can make sure he gets those 2 proton torpedoes off, or just go a little slower with Luke. Yeah,
The 4 forward was aggressive, especially from
It
where
was.
he was.
it was really aggressive, and maybe
Because he
wasn't
barrel
expecting
rolled.
a barrel roll from Tarani either, but at the same time, like he had full board knowledge. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. It's like we're judging this as well. I don't know if this is the first time these players are playing road rules. Like it's hard. Like it's so hard. You're in essence playing a brand new game. So they're yeah. I need to remember to show compassion to players as they're figuring these new rules out too.
All right. This was 10.
One crit.
One crit.
I think this is a primary attack. Maybe into
Yep.
no, it doesn't matter.
Evade.
Into Ronnie. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he had taken
and then
the
is he gonna
lock
spend
on
the lock
the quad.
to take an
Well, the
ion?
lock is on the quad jumper. So
Oh, it has to be the same defender. Sure.
Yep.
Trying taking the ion the ion now. Let's see if he remembers he doesn't have to shoot at Luke. I'd shoot at
Shoot.
10.
shoot the B-wing.
He
Sure,
definitely
top A-wing.
remembers.
Yeah, he does. You're right. Good call. The A-Wing, I mean, that's not a terrible choice. Ahsoka doesn't have an evade token right now. This is potentially a way to get some damage on her, or at least make her spend that precious force resource. So I don't hate this choice.
4 days? What am I
I'm not
missing?
sure that's 4. Ooh.
Yeah, only 3.
Yeah. Also, forgot about this. R4B11. Because he can make her spend her stress to
The
make
stress
her reroll
to-
dice.
Oh, just gets the
Yeah.
one though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gross. I like that a lot. So, spend
So
the
you
stress.
just
make her
reroll
reroll
those
the
three.
evades. And he knows it
He's
too.
hovering over
He
it.
knows
Yep,
his
he's got it.
cards.
Good
I mean,
call.
man, if it was 2 damage, I would think, yeah, he's doing it. Why not? Use your triggers.
It's an A-wing. It's going to do a blue maneuver again
Yeah,
next turn
exactly.
anyways. So.
Oh,
All right, nice.
that's what you love to
Spend
see.
that force.
That
Gotta
feels-
spend the force. That's great. I mean, that's in essence a resource you've made your opponent spend. Like, totally worth it. And it didn't cost you a thing.
And now it makes the next turn Ahsoka like coordinate to 10
Yes.
that much more risky because then
Oh,
you
yeah.
won't have one force sitting there. You're
Yep.
just gonna have to spend both of them. So
Well,
yikes.
yeah, exactly. Because then you'll be down. And you can still use patience. But then, like, at this point, you need offense. Because you're hurting right now. With
Yeah, B-wings are tough,
Losing
but they're
Luke.
not proton torpedoes Luke tough.
Luke hits so hard being able to take target locks every single time and get all those mods. And the one thing Luke doesn't like is a lot of red dice in his face and or auto damage. And both of those things happen that round.
Yeah, I don't know. In the setup,
And to be
just like you
clear,
said, I mean,
there was only 2 ships shooting. That wasn't even like
Oh,
Justero didn't even
man.
get to shoot.
Right? Now it was 3 attacks, but still.
3 attacks, but yeah.
yeah, two
Oof.
auto damage, and then fuel leak with that torp
I
did
don't
the
think you
rest.
expect Luke dies there. Like, even I don't think I would have expected to lose Luke coming in. That was unlucky, but at the same time, like, it was an aggressive move to come in.
Once
that
he
fast.
landed in snapshot bullseye, then
Yep.
not great. So
No.
I thought it was going to be the hard left right out of the gate with around that little rock. He had the foils closed. I thought that was going to be hard left boost straight,
So
and
that
then start to flank
roll
around.
was for the cloaking device.
Cloaking device.
Yep.
Not a
yep.
focus
cloaked.
result, so fine. And then they'll set dials, and then they'll roll to see movement order.
So, Paul and Dan, let me ask you this. Looking at our opponents' lists, we've got one side that has 2 ships that are the same initiative plus one that's a 4, right? So kind of hanging out in that upper levels. And then on the other side, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. So for the road rules list building ideas, are you leaning more towards like a complete variety of initiatives, or are you kind of banking on 1 or 2? What are your thoughts?
Dan, I've said a lot. I'm curious of your thoughts first.
I don't know which one's better. I mean, I understand the idea behind both, right? I mean, keeping the same initiative is really just to preserve the same value that you always have from it, in terms of the ability to have that order of operations in moving your ships, which, to the points that Paul talked about before, if you have brought in the ability in particular to have coordinate as a part of what you got, or if you have reposition and can move things out of the way, then even, right, if you are stuck being a second player, potentially in a tough situation, being able to be at choose the order you activate could be a valuable tool in the box to help you get out of that situation. And, another form of risk mitigation is just what you said, right? Which is, if I take all different initiatives, then, the odds that I'm going to have, specific overlaps, as many overlaps, and the impact of road, I'm minimizing that, in theory,
It's
right, in advance of the game.
You're
unless
maximizing that something will
opponent-
hit, but you're minimizing that everything will hit.
Yeah, and in doing that, you take away all of that agency as well. So I think that part of it depends on what sort of ships you chose, right? So if the ships that you chose have the types of tools where that flexibility is valuable, then you're not going to want to have to lock yourself into the order of activation. I think of Vivek's list that he was playing back during the last Kyber event, right? The transport terror, and with Nodin and Nimi, and being able to have that combination, and he had the Finn, right? All the I2s, and it was very important for the success of that list that he was able to use those tools in a specific order he wanted. So, at least for me, now I'm not going to say that this is the competitively proven better thing, but just what would make me happier, at least, is I'd rather have that agency. I'd rather take the risk of running into a straight up mess to have more of those commons, initiatives in common, and to be able to then have more power during the game rather than kind of buying the insurance before the game. So that would be my choice.
So it's interesting. Andy in the chat saying, do you do that at the cost of list synergy though? And I'm not going to answer that question directly. My answer is going to be everything that we think we know about list building right now, throw in the garbage, because we have to rethink how lists are built around this new rule set. This is a fundamental change to the game. You actually need to now take in consideration, how do I mitigate not knowing if I'm going to move first or second? What tools can I put in my list that actually help that happening? Sometimes that's overlapping initiative with coordinators, hanging one back so that it can leapfrog over, for example, and putting yourselves in place that you know that you can't be blocked. That's really what's crazy to me is that, and myself, I have just as a spoiler, I have about 15, no, more than that. I have like 30 lists in my Launchpad app that are just ready to go, that I've like wanted to test, like either different functionalities of, hey, the rare tie for rolling for.
Oh, I got
Oh.
tied twice in a row last night.
Oh, that's amazing. Is that a
Yep.
Yahtzee? I don't know.
I
There
don't
we
know.
go. Difference. So Nicholas is going to be first this round, which I don't know if that's good for Eric, but we'll see. Anyway, so I think thinking about like I literally just have to throw those. I'm going to throw all those lists in the trash, as hard as that's going to be, right? Like I've spent so much time thinking about those lists. But in order to improve, if this is the game moving forward and a game that I want to continue to play, I have to throw all those away, start from scratch, thinking about now the game in a different way and list build around that. Now, there are some lists that I will probably have that look very similar to what I had right now. For example, droids with struts, largely unaffected by this because I can run onto a rock of some kind and then just say, I'm not moving, you can't block me. Haha. So there are things that don't change. U-wings with that hard stop, like anything with a stop maneuver is less impacted by this. So they're really like Dan and I were talking the other night as far as like, yeah, we just got this points update as well. And like, I think a lot of people, at least from what I heard, looked at those points changes and were like, yeah, that makes sense. That seems good. But now with this rules change, those point updates that we've seen, like just those are not great now. Like everything's out of balance. Grab what you can that you think's undercosted. You have a systems phase reposition that you can do. Yeah, value goes up. You have force, value goes up. That's the kind of things that you're gonna have to start thinking differently about as your X-Wing player. And I know that we don't like change. I honestly, like, personal preference, really was not a fan of this change. If I had my preference, I would say no, thank you. Informant goes off here to be able to see Ahsoka's doing a 1 hard. But that being said, if I want to continue to play this game, if I want to adapt, I have to start thinking differently. And by doing so, I think the players that can do that early enough are going to be the ones that are the most successful at this game. So those are my, I've said a lot of different things. We're getting into the movement, but hopefully that's helpful to some of the listeners and helpful for me as I'm processing my own thoughts.
That's going to take some time to process. And I know that I have been personally holding off on doing any like serious list building, just other things going on in my life. And I don't have any like big tournament-y things coming up for a few months, and wanted to see how the points were shaken out. I know there's a big GSP event this weekend, blah, 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 lots of reasons for procrastinating. And then they just spring this on us on Friday, and I was like, well, I guess I
yes, sir.
Didn't miss out too much on that. But I still think there's we'll see what tomorrow, for those of you who are listening right now or are over in Europe, I'm going to watch this in the morning. The AMG is doing their makeup stream of the game that they were going to play last week. They're doing that tomorrow or today, depending on what time you're watching this. So Thursday, November, whatever it is, 4th. And that's going to be at 1:00 Pacific time. So 3:00 here in Minnesota in the afternoon. And I don't know, 10 or something in Europe, something like that. So
my
check your
CEO
times.
scheduled a meeting that I cannot miss at 3 p.m. Central. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Come on, man.
Skype meeting or in person?
It's a Zoom meeting.
Perfect.
But
second monitor, you're golden.
But I'm presenting.
Okay, well, that'll be a little tricky, but I believe in you, Paul.
Oh, man.
Ooh, I
gotta be on camera too, but
all right. So, sorry to distract, but
no,
yes, the decloak with the tractor with the tugboat was awesome.
Yeah,
getting
good.
the tractor because now that's a 0 agility B-wing. He didn't move him, which actually, if 10 just goes forward, because Nicholas got first player, he just gets that if. Okay, so no snapshot. Good call. And it's not a bump.
No bump either.
Still has an action.
which means he can arc dodge. I think it's gonna be really close.
I don't know
Really
about
close.
maybe Tsarani, definitely Unkar, and
If he goes forward, he might have a chance. Like barrel roll to the side and forward.
Yeah, right forward. I think is out.
yeah.
I
I
think
think
it's
you
out.
have to try at this point.
It's out of all
like-
three of them.
Can't you link that anyways, right? You can link
Wait,
it
why
to.
is he losing a shield?
Yeah.
Why is he losing a shield?
I don't know.
Snapshot's range 2.
There's no
They
dice.
didn't
No
roll
dice
for
rolled
it.
anyway either. Yep, I think he's over it to flip it back.
They're probably talking about. Yeah.
There we go.
I really like Snapshot being a range 2 shot. Yeah, it's a bigger area, but it's a little harder in some ways to use. I don't know. I like that it's a range.
While they're talking about this,
Two
here's another angle on this road stuff that's come up. As we're getting ready to do the Wild Space Open for Hexiled starting in just a few days, and excited about that. And we've been figuring out what player order we want to use, right? We know Dion is going to do the one time at the start of the game, the way most communities have been for Alderaan this weekend. We were asking about that, asking about this, and a couple people pointed out, and we were talking about this on Tuesday as well, which I guess was just yesterday. Officially, right, because of just the way the communication's been done, and the communication hasn't maybe been as good as it could have been, the only actual thing we have really to hang a hat on has only ever been all the way back to bids, right?
Correct.
And so
you're absolutely correct.
You're seeing more and more people, and in the Hex Discord, there are a couple of posts about it now. They're like, geez, and maybe this is just where we're at in the grieving process, but like, maybe it's us. Maybe it's us who are to blame because we took the original stream where they talked about randomness instead of bids, and had a big reaction to it, and not almost everybody started immediately. Sort of, we're gonna change the way we play. We did it in the store. We did it on the Hex channel. Dion started doing it. Others started doing it, and now it's like, well, we saw this. Now they've actually said more and shown us more indication that this would be what's coming than the previous, which has no. We kind of invented that one ourselves. So
correct.
By
the way, I still think you barrel roll here because even if you don't arc dodge Toronto, you still arc dodge Josh Darrow.
Yeah.
So it's one less shot. But
go forward.
Anyway,
it's just going to be tough because you're blocking your own Ahsoka.
Oh, I get it. Going forward, maybe you don't, but so he is barrel rolling. I think that's the right call. It's gonna feel bad to get blocked because Snapshot's gonna trigger on Ahsoka, but
is it? I think that corner might sneak into range 1 there.
Yay! Now you're getting shot at range 1 by Ferrari. I don't know, but Dan, that's an excellent point, and there needs to be more clarity that's happened. So I talked about deleting all my lists right from Yasby. Have not done that yet, and I won't until we actually get official rules as far as what's going to happen change-wise. We still don't know if what they proposed is a side format similar to Aces High. We have no idea.
Yeah.
I think what I've enjoyed about this is that it's starting the conversation around like, hey, maybe just having 2 initiative 5s like come in and one player just gets to move second the entirety of the game is bad? ? Like, is that just a problem that we've just been accepting just because we've been doing it? I don't know the answer to that, but the discussion is fascinating to me.
I think it's a bit of the devil right?
Yeah.
And also it's a bit of a little bit of pride, like I can handle being first player.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like I'm good enough to learn how to do that, or I put the
There
time in
is
to practice a
data,
list or whatever.
though.
Yeah.
Like as an ace, like if you have another ace, like I mean, I think if you're like, yeah, I'm the first player, it's gonna be a tougher uphill battle for me. Well, should it be? Like, shouldn't we
Right.
be on equal ground? Like that just seems a little backwards.
Right.
Especially if you're talking about like tournament play. So I get that argument. I don't necessarily like agree with it, but I understand it.
Why did Lima take a focus there instead of a target lock?
Because she's gonna get a free lock.
Oh, because she's not in any arcs.
That's right.
Yep. Ability.
Nicholas has been playing his abilities really well this game.
Yeah.
And not to say that Eric hasn't, but Nicholas just has a lot more triggers, and he hasn't missed any of them. He's been doing very, very well with that.
All right, so Ahsoka did patience. She's got all her force.
Yep. She took the deplete first. Again, because of the dice roll. And now Lima got that free lock.
Yeah, Andy in the chat, the random after dials, good for new players learning the game. Yeah, I've
Good
seen.
question.
Maybe, right? I mean, I sort of get it. And it good in the sense of it's going to prevent them from, getting stomped on by, silencers that are moving after their I3s and I4s. Is it more intuitive? Is it going to attract people as sort of the natural corollary to, sort of the chess of like, hey, look, you should be able to play the white pieces or the black pieces. You should be able to build your list, so, and with the bid system, right? If you spent a certain number of points, you kind of knew, right? Well, I'm kind of set up to be the black pieces, and other lists like certainly wanted to be the white pieces. And there was a intuition about that, and so I don't know. My reactions, I'm not sure if it's any better. I think it, I understand the argument about it's going to keep you from having this one version of like NPE, but I'm not sure that is offset by, like if I think I put myself, I wasn't a 1.0 player. I only started 3 years ago. If this had been the set of rules, I don't know. I don't think it would have appealed to me quite as much.
So the short answer to the question asked is I do not think it will be good for new players and casual players. Let me explain why. So I explained this rule to a buddy of mine who's a board gamer, knows about X-Wing, but has never played the game. And I was like, yeah, there's a big rule shakeup. And I was really trying to not like give any of my personal biases, just wanted to see his opinion. Kind of as a social experiment, like to see like, is this going to make him want to play the game more? Or is this going to make him want to be less interested in the game? So I explained the rules to him and I was like, yeah, so this is how it goes. You do the planning phase and then you roll dice to see which player goes. And he goes, what? That's literally the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. In no way do I want to play this game ever. And his point was that he's like, from my standpoint, I could have like 2 turns where I'm getting like double activations in a row. He goes, that seems really dumb. And I didn't tell him about the alternating play order, which is exactly like it's forcing players to do that. But anyway, the uncertainty for him was just like that took a big part of what he thought was an interesting game where you might want to try just away. He's like, yeah, I don't want to try that. I think there's another part to the question though, which is, do we think it's going to be like too extreme for new players to like jump in, like rules wise is too complicated? I think the answer to that is no. Like new players, like there's a lot going on in X-Wing. There's a lot to learn. This is pretty low bar to learn. As veteran players, it feels extreme because it's a whole nother step to like figure out. And now we have to like plan differently, but to a new player, they don't know any different. So in some ways, this is not a handicap to them. It's a boon because they're just learning a new game. Now, the appeal behind it, I think, is what is going to, again, stem from or be something that it's like, yeah, I'm not interested. Mm-hmm. And I think the reasoning behind why this change, okay, let me rephrase. I don't think Atomic Mass Games thought through that aspect. I think they are developers primarily, and so they're trying to find what they think is the most balance in a game that makes it quote unquote the most fair for competitive players. whether you agree with that or not is something entirely different, right?
That's a big shot
But-
from 10, by the way. Just
3
sticking in there.
eyeballs.
Yeah. Oh
changed
my
to
goodness.
hits, by the way.
Sorry.
He
Yeah.
needed that.
Did
Eric,
pay
Eric
attention
needed
to
that.
Yeah, he
Go,
did.
go ahead, though.
It'll be interesting to see if Tarani has 10 in arc this shot. Doggy. That's a lot of damage. That's full string.
Atrani does not have 10 in her. She already shot.
Tarani already shot? Oh, shot
Yep.
into Soka. Did I miss that entirely? Took a shield off Soka. Sorry. Was chit-chatting away. Well then, yeah, that was very fortuitous. That was a big swing for Eric. He needed that. But yeah, so I think that they are developers first and foremost. They're actually, as crazy as this seems, I don't think they made this decision with any thought to how it would impact the game financially or new players, like, at all. I really don't. And I even if they did think of it, I don't know that they'd care either. Because there is such a large player base, and it is such in flux. Like, I think they're just trying to figure things out right now. Was this received poorly? Well, by those that were the most vocal. I don't know if it was received poorly by everyone. At least in our local group, everyone seems to have received it poorly. But that doesn't necessarily speak for everyone. And I know there are some players that are a big fan of this change. So, but again, like, we don't know if this is an official change. We don't know if it's a side format. Like, to Dan's point, what's in the rulebook is not this. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful. But there you go.
So if you do want to know what's in the rule book, you can go to youtube.com/whatever it is and just search Glitterstim ASMR, where
There
I
it
whisper the entire rule book.
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
Or
that
if
was
you
great.
want to just keep hitting that panic button, you can also go watch me stress out about doing 1 forward or 4K while hyperventilating into a paper bag, which seems to be another appropriate response to this whole rule change. So yeah, there's a lot of mixed things. I'm kind of thinking maybe tomorrow they'll be like, hey, guess what? We're going to be demoing a 3-player objective based game today.
Yeah,
and everybody has to roll their 3 dice. I mean, the thing about what they proposed was that they worded it in a way where it doesn't specify how many players.
Correct.
So that they wouldn't have to specify how you decide player order, regardless of which format and number of players. So, which is actually from like when Paul's mentioning that these are developers. That's a really good development idea.
It is. It's a really good flexibility.
Very clean.
Totally.
It's very succinct. It's like, okay, we don't have to look in a different part of the rule book. A game that I don't play a ton of minis games, like really any others other than X-Wing, which isn't even that much of a minis game. But the one game that I do enjoy playing very casually is called Gaslands. And that is kind of the opposite of X-Wing in that there are multiple ways to win, not just destroy your opponents or whoever's ahead on points at time. There's multiple ways to win. There's a lot of different... There's fewer chassis, but way more different loadout types. And each chassis has the same options for maneuvers. So there's no dial. It's just if you're in whatever, it's a car game. It's like a racing game where you are racing or you're blowing people up. Think Mario Kart meets Mad Max Fury Road. And so instead of being like, oh, this ship can do a 3-sloop, oh, this ship can do a Talon roll, oh, this can do a 1 hard. Nope, all the vehicles have the same maneuver templates to choose from. But then you have the option to roll dice to see if you can modify that maneuver. So you might slide out of it, so you end at like a 90-degree angle, or you might be able to spin your car up to 90 degrees either way from where you end. And so, but you have to roll dice to be able to do those things. So when I see something like, hey, let's roll for random player order after you set your dials, I'm like, no. I like knowing where my ship is going to go,
Same.
even if I think my opponent may be able to block it, then I
Agreed.
can plan for that. Whereas if I wanted the chaos of, I'm going to try this and then I'm going to roll some dice and see what happens, I'd go play Gaslands, because that's a game that was built with that idea of chaos in mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a great metaphor, right? Sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
Just gonna say, like,
Go for
I
it.
wanted to use it to talk about myself, just briefly though, in the sense
Do
of what
it.
I said, because it's just like, again, that wouldn't have sold me, right? When I bought my first 2 core
Yeah.
sets and was like, hey, this is something I think I could have a lot of fun playing with my kids,
Yes.
and we like the theme, and like, and I can explain it to them, and I like this idea of, okay, and one player is gonna sort of, they but pay for all the things, and then as a consequence of that, right, then though, right, then they're probably going to have to, they're not going to be able to react to what the other player does, and then the other player, they can have that, but then they don't have as many toys, right? And so, to the point of the people, and I've seen, and Paul talked about it earlier, of, is this just sort of like, like a joint pain that we've learned to live with, and was it always imperfect? Perfect balance is hard to find, right? Even chess doesn't have perfect balance. It uses reps to get around perfect balance. But that notion, as compared to what you just described, right? Like, oh, and maybe you'll be able to drift your car if you roll this range of numbers or whatever. If that, even just in terms of like where the ships go, and it's just a different game that you're selling. It feels like to me, and that's the problem that I've got with, and that I'm apparently may have to be getting over myself with. All right,
I think that's valid. I think to that point, like you're talking about this perfect balance. Yeah, if you don't spend points, you might be able to move last. Well, okay, what happens if you take a 13-point bid, go into a tournament, and you get up against a person who has a 14-point bid, right? Like, you've in essence wasted those 13 points. You have no semblance of, like, I mean, there was this classic joke as far as like, what's your bid? What are you bringing to this tournament? What's your bid?
Yeah,
so that
right.
you could drop off like one more card so that you'd have the bid. And in essence, the bid was a card that wasn't on the table. It was the move last card, right? But sometimes that move last card was just gone from your list because your opponent spent more points on the move last card. Like, that feels bad in a tournament setting. And so that's why I think, like, they're trying to address that quote unquote problem. I think that it's good they're addressing it. Personally, this is my own personal bias, the way they did it, I think, is terrible.
Yeah. Yep.
So, for all the reasons that we've talked about, Dan, because as far as like you talking about how this much changes the game, Andy, you're talking about like how you get this feeling from other games, like all those reasons, I 100% agree it's terrible. Now, I'm not a developer. I don't know what else they've tested. Maybe this is the best thing. At the same time, Atomic Mass Games has also talked about they trying to tweak things. They want to bring the players into what they're doing, I guess, which is a different way. Like, we've never had that experience from Fantasy Flight Games. Fantasy Flight Games has said, we're going to test this. We have groups of play testers. Like, you don't get to even see behind the curtain at all. And when we present it to you, this is what you get. End of story. And so this is a different way.
I gotta interrupt. Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Do you see what's happening here?
She's thinking about rotating?
You just gotta rotate. Because otherwise
gosh,
she's gonna be off the board.
What did she dial in? A 4 straight?
It's gonna sloop to the right.
Oh yeah. Oh no. You have to rotate, which means you're doing a white 2 forward. But you don't have a choice. Ugh. Yeah, what an amazing tractor that was. I don't know if Eric didn't see it coming, or that was hoping the one hard wouldn't have her an arc. Man, yeah. Take a stress, kind of reveal the red, and then do a 2 straight. Maybe that's a feature. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that was a solid move. Anyway, so I don't know. But I have a feeling that this might not be the end. And again, we don't know. This might be a side format.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, We have no clue. There might be another rule set that they're gonna drop on us, like, and say, hey, we're playing with this because this is the side format today in this stream. But oh, by the way, there's another rule set that we're planning on using for like main competitive play. This was just a side format event. Like Marcel talked about, the main issue for AMG as far as his frustration is actually not development, but just communication.
Oh,
like,
yes.
just inform the players what's going on. And I think that would have solved a lot of freak out by the community. But I will say, if that's what ends up happening, a lot of the people who are freaking out and saying the sky is falling they're gonna have some egg on their face. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought. Andy asked in the chat saying that Road is more thematically accurate in the sense that 2 I5s have a split second to make a decision to stay or disengage, pay the penalty, or reap the reward from the fated outcome. Don't disagree. I think there's a fine balance between theme, player experience, and actual game balance, if that makes sense. And I think while this might be high on the theme, maybe, there could be an argument made for the other. I think the player experience, at least my own, and what I've heard from players who have not played the game, who are thinking about it, getting into it, and from current other players, is that the player experience has been lowered. And game balance wise, I don't know.
Talking about the specifics in this game for a second, I'm trying to decide if I think that if Eric had won the first player there, if 10 would have been very sad because that turnaround would have bumped into Tirani.
Yeah.
I think it would have.
That was a risk. That was a huge risk. But okay. Well, go ahead and take it. Also, Ahsoka is a lucky ducky. She arc dodged 3 ships by rotating and doing a 2 straight. Yeah. I think she would have anyway with the 3 sloop if she hadn't been moved. So that was just a good move.
Should she have a stress token then?
Yes, because
yeah, white
she rotated 90 degrees and then had to do a 2 straight.
The stress,
because
she
had a
maneuver.
red maneuver dialed in.
Yes,
okay, my
correct.
mistake. Okay, I thought you said 2 straight, like she had dialed in a 2 straight. And I was like,
Maybe,
okay.
And who knows? Maybe Eric like 1000 brain this and was like, I'm down in a 3 sloop here because if I don't get tractored, I'm doing a 3 sloop. I'm stressed anyway. If I get tractored, I'm going to rotate and do a 2 white straight where I want to be anyway. If that's the case, holy cow, hat off to you, man. Like, well done.
Mm-hmm.
I like this barrel roll behind Tirani. Like, I don't think Tirani's gonna be around for this world by the end of this.
Probably not. even with
It
patience.
does say
so
in
we
the
got
chat that Ahsoka had a 3 sloop
That's what I'm saying.
dialed in. So
yeah.
very nice.
Oh, yeah. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna barrel roll here. Well, you can't because 10 is. Oh, no. That was the Ahsoka handoff. After you fully
Yeah,
execute
because you can do it while stressed. Yep, you can still do it
Yeah.
while stressed.
that ship can do
very
it even
nice.
while stressed. So he is barrel rolling. Wait, did she not have
Well-
enough force? Is that the problem?
She should have.
Oh, player order. Player
Yep.
order. Lee Makai should have gone
Thanks.
before Ahsoka. That's
Oh,
why.
yep.
And then the
Okay.
barrel. roll.
Oh, this could have been avoided if we had just decided player order at the beginning of the...
Oh my gosh, there's salt. I was trying to stay away from the salt, but I'm glad you're bringing it. It's great.
I'm just,
Absolutely
you
great.
know me. I'm just here poking the bear. I'm not.
I love it, man. It's wonderful. I also find it interesting that Lee Makai has kept the ion cannon pointed forward, but that actually syncs really well with her ability, too.
Oh.
Wow. The barrel roll herself. So you're just going to say, all right, 10, I don't believe that you can fit now.
I think he can fit.
agree.
Oh,
You think he can? He goes forward? It's so close. It's so close.
I think he fits. I mean, try it anyway, right?
Well, okay. I mean, try it, but at the same time, you could take a lock or some other type of mod. I guess you have the stress to be able to spend on the focus. Like, take a lock. if you don't think the barrel roll will fit.
He's hovering in that
Paul,
area.
can I ask a brief rules clarification on barrel rolling?
If I know it.
If you know, can you barrel roll through a ship can you put the template through a
Yes.
ship if the final
Yes.
position of the ship would land?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
It came up the other night on Monday night, and I didn't know because
You cannot
it
through
rarely ever comes up.
an
So
obstacle, but you can through a ship. It's kind of a weird
Okay.
corner case.
what about a hyperspace ring?
Ah.
Get that epic out of here, man. I don't know. I couldn't even. If gun to my head, if you were like, "What does a hyperspace ring do, Paul?" I'd be like, "I have no idea. Just pull the trigger, man." Like, no clue.
Can you barrel roll through a Discord missile?
Yes.
Yeah. You
Do
would,
you take the Discord missile?
Not unless your base ends up on it.
Oh, you could barrel roll onto a Discord missile,
Yeah.
and then you take it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyways, none of this is pertinent to the game at hand. I'm so sorry to take
I
us on a
mean,
tangent.
a lot of
It
what we've
seems
talked
like they're
about
taking the
has been
time figuring out.
tangential.
They're taking their time figuring out, the actions, which is good. That smart players, they take their time and
do it.
really think about all
just
the
get crack
all the
shot.
triggers.
You do it.
There's a crack shot on the board.
Yeah, 10's got crack
Yes.
shot.
Oh my god.
I think that's why he wanted to barrel.
Okay,
roll.
he's over the force. It's gonna happen.
Oh,
I
crack
mean-
shot, Tirani. Well, Tirani's got 1 health left.
1,
Just-
2. Okay.
Just let us up.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to get closer to Joustro, but at the same time, if you think that barrel fits, you arc dodge
Getting
in the
out of
tie here.
Lima's arc
Mhm.
is
Which
pretty
isn't-
important. Yeah.
Terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't think the barrel is going to fit.
Uh,
Save the game state to see if it would. And then
Is it barrel
check
roll then
later.
red tractor, or is it tractor then red barrel?
or target lock, you mean?
Or target lock? Yeah.
Yeah, it's barrel into red target lock. So
So it'd have to fit.
But you're stressed, so
fill
you
it.
couldn't do it anyway.
Oh, you can only perform the 1 action with Sokas. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can link
Perform
off
on
of
it.
it if you're not stressed.
If you're not stressed. Okay.
Like that
I
first
was like,
action
ooh, is
you
this
can
where
do-
10 gets 2 stress tokens?
Yeah, and it says that ship may perform an action,
Mhm.
not as many actions as they want. Like it's a little different than contraband cybernetics. I mean, if I'm Ahsoka, just shoot Tirani, right? Tirani has how much health left? 1?
Well,
Yeah, why not? You got this. 3 dice, V1.
Yep.
Let 10 shoot into...
alternately, Jostero is strained, but like,
Yeah, but he's got 3 strain tokens. So most likely you'll get at least one of those. Yeah, again, they forgot about order.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's like you said. It's like learning a new game, right?
Yeah, exactly. It totally is. And ion turret shot. Ooh. Spend that lock. Okay.
okay, for 2. 2's fine.
10 just needs 1 paint to not be ionized. It's going to take half points, but I don't know that you want to be ionized. You get a focus result, you spend the stress, you get an evade, bonus, you have it for offense.
Don't be ionized. Yeah.
I mean, you spend that. Probably? Because you want to be able to do 1 hard next turn and just lay into Joustro. But not kill him, because Dead Man Switch would be bad.
5x5 talking about overlap on buzz droids, and yes, if you overlap buzz droids, that's right. Pick them up.
If your template template something for the movement.
Oh,
Okay,
if
so
your
he's
template
he's
touches
talking
for
about-
movement, yes, movement.
talking about
but,
overlap.
I was talking about the barrel roll template,
Yeah.
which is not a movement template, or you're not in the movement step or whatever.
I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But I don't know that I've ever seen it. Ask your local TO.
Yeah.
Because they might rule it differently. Doesn't mean they should, but they might. Yep, and then Ahsoka spends the Force. Unfortunate that she's Force-starved, but have to do it to ensure the kill, which is a good decision. And 10 super lucky to not be ionized there. Don't look now, folks. Eric is clawing his way back into this game. Last round was really good for him. This round with Trani being ionized, not able to flip around, that was huge. I think we mentioned that too, that ionized crit from Luke was going to be problems for Trani. Now, is it too little too late though, with only 7 minutes left? Gonna need to not lose anything and probably half Lima and kill Unkar.
Yeah, you need 48.
Question for you guys. Is this turn 4?
Turn 4 or 5.
I think it's turn 4. And
Unkar
we're
takes
only
the crit.
getting one more turn.
I mean, again, new game. The planning phase, I think, like, everyone's like, oh, the dice rolling will take longer. No, that takes like 3 seconds. What'll take longer is you thinking about all the different possibilities that now you have to account for that you didn't already. So that was a fire control system trigger. And now, oh, did he spend the lock? No, now he spent the lock to fire the ion cannon.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For one hit.
Natties, baby.
What's this, a quad jumper rolling 2 natties? Dan's heard me say it 100 times.
You love the quad jumper, right, Andy?
Hey, if they're rolling 2 green dice, it's 2 evades.
True.
I do.
I know you do love it. You even went to FFG for when it got dropped and released. I remember that story well. Good one.
2 hits.
All right.
That's good.
Well, you're gonna
Got
do
the
one
target locked?
damage. Yeah,
Are you
why
gonna
not?
spend that? Next turn. 1 bank.
I guess you're gonna get 1 damage automatically. So, why I like spending the target lock there is, you have 2 natural results. If it was 1 hit and 2 blanks, I would not spend it because the probability is you're only gonna get 1 more hit. But if you already have 2, the probability that you're going to get 3 is now 50-50, which is an extra point of damage. So, like, you want to maximize the damage for the roll that you actually get, if that makes sense.
Yeah, compared to next turn.
Yeah.
Where it's possible you get blocked by Ahsoka or something like that and you don't get that focus. And you roll horribly or something like that.
Right.
Yep. I got you.
Console fire roll was just a focus. So, no damage on Unkar. But this, as far as pace of play is concerned with these players, my guess is this is the last round.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start doing some math wing. What does Eric need to do? And what realistically can he do?
Well, even if you killed Unkar,
I think
get...
realistically you half Unkar and maybe half Jostro if you're lucky. And
That's
is
not
that
enough. No, it's not.
It's
well,
not?
because 10's already at half. Ahsoka is full.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Nope. Even half of Lima, 30. That gets you to
And half of
89. Then you need another 28. And
which is half of Jostro exactly.
No,
right?
Jostro,
No, that's not even.
Jostro's 46 now.
Yeah.
It's only 23. So you got to get...
It's got to be 2 more rounds of play. Gotta
all
go
of,
quick.
All
gotta
of Unkar and half of Lima.
What if...
that's nope, that's not enough.
Jostro?
That's not enough either. Oh, sorry. All
What
of
if you-
Unkar and half of Lima would do it.
What about
So-
half of Jostro and all of Unkar?
23, 59. Yep, that would do it by 1 point.
Okay. And not have 10 die or Ahsoka take half.
Right.
Easy. With Ahsoka being stressed, too. Easy. He's gonna need 2 more rounds.
Yeah, it's not
If
going to
he
be 2
wants
more
to.
rounds. 3 minutes. Yeah.
Unless these players go.
All
Much
right. And
differently
by
than
the
they
way,
have
does
to.
Eric? Let's talk. Does Eric want to move first or second?
Ugh. I don't know.
Jostaro's going to move before his ships, no matter what. So's
Yeah.
Unkar. So it only matters for Lima.
Who's probably doing a 4K?
Nah, Lima's stressed.
Oh, that's right, 'cause she did the barrel roll. Never mind. So she's definitely not doing a 4K. From my camera angle, I couldn't see the stress under.
She's got R4.
Yeah, I really want to watch tomorrow's stream,
But
but I
don't.
won't be able to.
This looks like turret. Maybe.
Yeah,
Bank
this
and
may be the
turret for
ion
Lima.
turret rotate shot.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
you just
you
go
only
one
need
forward.
one, right? If you can get one into Ahsoka, that's
Yeah.
You lock it up. Yeah.
it's all over.
And depending on the roll, you might have perfect information as far as where to put that turret too.
And Informant's gonna go, so you know where. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know where
There you
Ahsoka's
go.
going. Anyways.
You know where she's going. But I mean, the only thing is like she has a double reposition, so she could potentially get out of wherever you end up putting that arc. Whereas if you're moving last, you're guaranteed to get her in that arc. I think this was a helpful example of how RPO can change dynamics of a game.
I think so. Not
And the
not so
value
much
of
early on, but
sense
in these
and
second half of this game for sure.
intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, Luke just getting nuked. That's such a big hole. Like, he's your most expensive ship. You didn't get both proton torps off. So you're behind damage race there too. I mean, it's just it's you don't want to say, all right, GG, but at the same time it's like, well,
And Ahsoka's still sitting on her proton rockets.
yeah. I think, by the way, as we're waiting, Andy, you had mentioned in the chat talking about organized play portion, what that's going to be. I even if like there's no rule change or I don't know, I imagine that there's going to be a shakeup as well, like how cuts are determined, that players are going to just be really ticked about too because it's different. Margin
Well,
of victory specifically is a terrible way, and this might be controversial, but it's a terrible way to look at how well you did in a game. Because you think about it, extensively, if your margin of victory is higher, right, you've won by more points. And if that's the case, maybe not every game, but most likely you have played weaker opponents, if that makes sense, because the game wasn't as close. And so if that's the case, your strength of schedule, and it's interesting, right? Like they post strength of schedule. They don't use it, but they post it, and margin of victory. Typically, there's an inverse proportion, meaning that your strength of schedule is probably easier if your margin of victory was higher. So in essence, what's happening right now is you're rewarding the players that are making the cut that had a least difficult time getting there. And I'm not saying strength of schedule is the way to go about it, but I actually hope what they do is just say, all right, from now on, strength of schedule, margin of victory, none of that matters. It's wins and losses. That's it.
X and 1, you're in the cut.
Correct.
Or X and 2 if it's a huge event or
Yes.
whatever. Right?
Yes. That feels bad because you're like, oh man, I wanted to be able to have like another win or like another loss cushion, if that makes sense. But like, it's a terrible way to look at who gets in the cut and who doesn't. And players might not like that because it's like, well, now my cut ratio is being questioned. It's like, well, it maybe should be if you're being honest about it. Anyway, I don't know. I have a feeling if this is the direction they're going, where they're like, yeah, we don't really care if players are going to be mad. We're just wanting it to be more fair. Expect that change to come in. I have no insider information, by the way. This is total speculation.
And my comment about organized play was less about AMG because frankly, right now I'm in there is not going to be organized play big tournaments in 2022. Like I know that they said that they would like to have
But
a Worlds in
Worlds!
2022, but I am pretty skeptical about it. I know that they're going to have stuff. They're going to have swag at Adepticon because I reached out to them during one of their like Crisis Protocol paint streams and asked the question.
Which is
and
clearly
they
the
said-
best way
Right.
to communicate.
And they did
There's my
say
fault.
that they were going to have stuff at Adepticon, and that they didn't have any details yet, but that that they will be eventually showcasing what that is, and that's not for another 5 months. So it's like I understand they're waiting on that stuff, but
By the way,
anyway,
Nicholas won the roll off.
Yep.
Just
thank you. What I was actually thinking about organized play wise was, will there be stores that, if there are multiple ways of playing, like if road rules is your community's like jam, like you like the thematicism that Grey Duck had talked about, Andy had talked about, of the chaos of war or space battles or whatever you want to call it. If that's your jam and you find a community of other players in your area that want to do that, then you can put those tournaments on. If you don't like that, or if you like, I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that maybe we're gonna have 2 or 3 different ways to approach the whole notion of who goes first, etc. And that's okay. You decide which your event is going to be. Instead of necessarily hyperspace and extended, it's road, or it's robbed, or it's just flip a coin at the beginning of the game, and that's it. Like that,
we just don't know. We have we just
we just don't know. So
I hope that doesn't happen, at least. And maybe I'm biased in this sense as someone who, I told you when I started playing, right? So for, I suppose now more than half of my experience in this game, it's been the electronic game. And the positives that we have gotten out of that in terms of being able to have the shared experience not just in this country, but even globally. Like, if that is the way things go, that will begin, I would predict, to sort of degenerate away towards, you guys, or you play that, even in the way right now, there's people right now out there on Facebook saying things like, the LVO went to extended. That's a, blankety blank format. I'm not going to, there's not too many, but they're out there, right? And
you read Paul's comment?
And imagine how it's gonna,
just teasing me,
in case it's like,
you didn't say that.
People who would normally, we're gonna play in Kyber Cup, right? I talk about trying to get 500 people. If format's fracture, that'll never happen again, right? Because I don't know,
100%.
That's not the way we play, right? And it hurts the streamers too. I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but I think the actual like professional streamers, it hurts them too, because
agreed.
The reach that they have in terms of people who check in, like, I want to see what's good. I want to see how this could influence my own play, my own lists.
If they're going to do that, it has to be very clearly communicated. This is a side format similar to what Aces High was. But you're right. You can't say, they're, whatever you want to do, like format wise, because what will end up happening is people will start disparaging and questioning, like, even tournament results, right? Like, so I 100% agree with you, Dan. I hope that that's not what they do.
All right, Ahsoka got to move last. It doesn't look like,
She did an extreme maneuver, though. That's fun. Use that upgrade card.
Don't think.
So Tennum did the 2 hard. The 1 hard may have fit, which is, that was something that the 1 hard fitting may have actually also blocked Lena. So, so this is like a doubly bad on Eric's side. So,
yeah, it's tough. I don't know what he was thinking through. Maybe he thought the 2 hard would fit and not bump after Justero's doing a 1 bank. Like, I don't know. He also probably knows he's down. Like as you're down, you get more desperate as far as what you're hoping happens.
Sure.
There's the full string coming in from that ion cannon.
Well, you're not worried about being ionized anyway.
No, it's more the half points, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's
It's the MOV,
that
the all important.
Yeah, right. The all important MOV.
almost. Oh, so close.
We've actually
That
talked
too.
about a lot of good stuff on this. Like, so I hope it's helpful to people.
And in a civil fashion, I think we.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I didn't ramble too long, and Paul made some succinct, good points. And yeah, I think Dan, I think you should have us back, because I think we did all right.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that for a second. We're probably going to be back tomorrow. We got 1 player signed up already. That would be at the same time. Then there we go. Yeah, that stays above half.
Almost half point. Could have had it.
Then Dion seems like he's like super chill, so I imagine he'll sleep, just fine tonight ahead of this AMG stream, right? So I'm not worried. I don't think he's stressed out. And player
he cleared his schedule from 4 to 5 though.
Yeah, right. Like you're gonna have your signature event of the year. Imagine if they come out tomorrow and say something like, well, one thing we're never gonna do is just like randomly set it at the start of the game.
Right.
Hey, that will be a little bit of a poke in the eye. And they'll be fine, and they'll go on, and it's gonna be a great tournament. And so I know I'm gonna be watching it this weekend. But geez, like that's I hope they don't do something like that, because there's already enough awkwardness right now that's out there. And but everybody check out Alderaan during the weekend. And then Wild Space begins next week.
Woo!
If you don't remember what Wild Space was, Wild Space is the sideboard. Unlike the Fantasy Crate sideboard, this is a anything goes sideboard. Bring whatever reposition cards you want. We don't know we're wild in the sense we still don't know what player order we're playing. We're gonna watch the stream tomorrow and then make a decision, because we're not Alderaan and we're trying to be wild and Wild West. So we can make you wait and tell you what player order is until the last minute. It's wild. Anyhow,
sideboard with bid. Oh man.
It's not going to be bid. It's not going to be bid. It won't be bid.
Oh, it's not going to be a bid.
No, okay. It won't. Whatever we do, it will not be bids. That was we settled that part at least today.
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do now, though, is these players. You might have seen I put it in the TT chat. They are waiting for us to come over and talk to them.
Ooh, fun.
I will see you there in 10 seconds.
Sounds good.
I was eyeing that.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi there.
All right, you are live to some tired people or people who are getting up very early over in Europe and everybody on demand. I'm gonna put no pressure, but I had let Bohan Lee know, who's been making some very thoughtful posts about random player order, that we were gonna have this game, and I was gonna send him the link to the stream, and in particular the timestamp of where we could hear from you right after, of what your reactions were and what you thought of this format. Let's see. So should we roll dice to see who gets to talk first? No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Nicholas, let's do that. Nicholas has. You've got the token.
How long,
you go ahead.
Writing that.
Not very long. Shorter than one of your planning phases.
Yes.
All right. But you've got the token.
Right back.
You go. You go ahead.
Nailed it.
Savage.
Dude, okay. So, I think a lot of attention to the online community has been paid to like the all fives matchup, and I think that this is definitely more of the nightmare scenario, where multiple overlapping initiatives. You saw that we had to walk back one movement with Ahsoka.
Yep.
Because I moved my 4, he moved his 4, he moved his 5. And then I was about to move my 5. So the going back and forth there is definitely something that's going to take some getting used to at the very least. I did write over in the notes overlapping triggers as well, which wasn't many. Full disclosure, my list is designed to have as many obnoxious triggers as possible.
We noticed that.
Yeah, I will be. This is the list that I plan on annoying Scott with on Friday.
Uh-huh.
Though I might drop the overtuned modulators for. I might drop something to try to get some bombs in there to support Justero, but
Bombs are good for Jestero for sure. Yeah.
yeah, but I like everything else in the list.
You can put it on the constable.
Unkar.
No,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Unkar is the same price as constable. So like if you wanted another I4,
well,
that's cloaked.
I like Unkar specifically because he is a lower initiative.
Sure.
So
yeah.
that gets me one more initiative to annoy Scott. 2, it puts him lower so that he can decloak presumably before the other pilot gets to their initiative in the systems phase, so that he can get close with his decloak to trigger listening device.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And he can tractor a large base ship.
Yes, he can solo tractor a large base ship, which is super fun to do on
Right.
your own Ketsu. to throw Ketsu around, but he's also lower initiative, so that he's more likely to get tractors onto someone before they get snapshotted. So the person that gets snapshotted has fewer dice. That's a token I can spend to reroll their defense dice.
Yup. Super gross.
Yeah, very much so.
Nicholas,
Eric.
your list is ridiculous. Tell us
Yeah.
about the format, though.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get Eric in on
yes.
in the format too, but
Apologize.
yeah, go ahead and talk about the format a little, and then we'll hear from Eric too on the format.
Yeah, the format's just I don't mind it changing. The after dials seems especially obnoxious. I think I had a bit easier of a time planning my dials with that in mind. I think my 4s and 5s generally had better places to go than his 4s and 5s.
Do you think that was because your list is more jousty than your opponents? Or tankier, I guess? Like you just weren't worried about...
A bit more on the passive mods. I definitely really learned to enjoy Lima.
Yeah.
I mostly had her for landing onto rocks, getting the lock, and then shooting torpedoes with the belly run. But being able to rely on those passive mods made it less. It made me care less about bumping, and so I was worried more about the ending position compared to clearing and getting an action. I think his ships, Ahsoka definitely has to fully execute. 10 has to get his actions to get his stress, to get his stuff going. So it's a lot more... He's got to make sure that wherever he goes, he clears, no matter who's moving first.
Sure.
All right.
I hate anything that gives more of an advantage to passive mods, but...
Well, then you're not gonna. I got bad news, right, about this format. All right, Eric, we waited to hear from you. What do you think? Was this your? How many games have you played in this format so far, and how did this affect your choices, and how would you build this list differently?
This is my first time playing with the random order, and I didn't mind it so much. I don't think we had it. I think Nick won more of the exchanges anyway, so it didn't change all that much. I don't quite follow the logic of rolling 3 dice. I don't understand why they just didn't do kind of the old way of doing initiative, just more often in a different place. But yeah, I think I need to get more data points before I say one way or the other for sure.
What a reasonable take. Boo.
Very reasonable. Very reasonable.
Can I offer a brief possible option why the 3 dice instead of just a single die?
I'd love to hear it. Yeah, sure.
There's been speculation that it's so that if and or when there are multiple players, not just 2 people playing, then they don't have to have a separate set of rules for how to decide that, because the road rules that they published on their Twitter page or whatever doesn't specify how many players. It just says when you're deciding player order, this is how you do it. And so that way they wouldn't have to say, oh, if you have 3 or more, you use this, and if you have 2, it's this. But anyways, that's the option. But yeah, I agree. If it's 2 players, like whatever, flip a coin. So
yeah, and I think in support of that's the Aces High kit that we saw leaked.
Yeah.
As well as it seems least likely rolls to go first. So crits 1 side, focus 2 sides, hits 3 side. It definitely seems to be supporting multiple people making rolls.
Yeah. Well, all right. Would you, if you were going to come and do this list, would you change the list at all? Knowing that this was a format? You had the two, you had the passive, with the force at least.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too soon to, I mean, I would make changes to this list. This is the first time I've flown this list, and I would probably still make some tweaks. I was still tweaking it this morning. So I think it definitely needs some refinement, I think. But as far as like how it affects the as far as like initiative affecting decisions there, I don't think so. I might have to look at 10 more closely, because I think B-Wings tend to end up in a scrum more, where there is more potential for bumps, and as Nick pointed out, like being able to fully execute a maneuver and get your actions in, that's kind of important.
Yep, for sure. All right, well, I appreciate you very much for hanging around. Thanks for playing on the stream. Thanks for hanging around extra to talk with us a little bit. And yeah, we'll I'm gonna send that timestamp over so we can add direct from your mouth with no interpretation for those who have the bully pulpits. So thanks for that. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for watching on demand. Thanks for watching tonight. Come back. See us again tomorrow. Enjoy Alderaan this weekend. Enjoy that AMG stream tomorrow. We'll see if bets are open. Yeah, right. I doubt it, right? I don't get the sense that they're just from the tone, right? I doubt there's going to be much of any backpedaling, and maybe not even much acknowledgement either, other than to say we've seen people talking about it. I don't imagine there'll be much more acknowledgement than that, but I don't know. No one can predict anything. All right, any other last words? Otherwise, we'll get it shut down. We'll be back tomorrow night.
No, thanks for setting it up.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.